Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.
A BB Fahode, a BB to me. Peace to all of my truth seekers and truth speakers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me another powerful guest, but she is no stranger to the community, Professor Bello. How are you doing tonight, Professor?
I am fine. Thank you very much. I'm doing great.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. As I said backstage, it's just an honor to have you on the platform. I am familiar with your work. I've seen you in documentaries. I'm familiar, with your book, The Heroes and Sheroes of the Haitian Revolution. And so, Professor, I just thank you for all of your hard work. Family, right now, take a moment out to thumb up this video. Professor Bello and I tonight are going to be talking about the warrior spirit of Black people. Yes, the warrior spirit of African people, because there is a growing sentiment, family, amongst young people that our ancestors were weak, that our ancestors did not fight. And that's not true. And that is a consequence of our young people being miseducated. And so tonight we're going to be talking about the warrior spirit of Black people, warrior spirit of African people, talk about the Maroon communities and how we've been fighting. We've been fighting for hundreds of years. We've always resisted oppression. We've always resisted oppression. But so we're going to talk about that tonight. So family, make sure that you thumb up the video, share the video. And also family, if you have not subscribed to my channel, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Head on over to YouTube because I know some of you are watching on Facebook. Go over to YouTube, type in Dr. Maat, hit the subscribe button and then click the notification bell. Okay, once you subscribe, so that anytime that I go live, you are notified. And also, family, I've created a Truth to Power Talk playlist on my channel. So if you missed some of my previous discussions, you can go right to the playlist, family, and click on any video that you would like to watch. I brought on Dr. Malefe Asante, Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Derry, Dr. Julianne Marvell. Tonight I have on Professor Bello. So family, be sure to check out all of the different, all of the interviews in the archives. Also, family, join me back here each and every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Read Book Club. Our next book is called The Color of Money, and we will be discussing the first chapter, not tomorrow, but the following Sunday. So make sure you grab the book, The Color of Money, and tune in next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. So, Professor, they've been waiting on you. Look at this. So, Brother Benjamin, he's been waiting for you, Professor. We have some family from the UK, the Brothers UK. They've been waiting. Brother Quasi, he said, Jumbo. Look at this, a beautiful mind. She says, peace and blessings, everyone. Brother Donnie Williams, he says, Hotep. And so they're coming in. They're coming in, and they've been eagerly, Professor, waiting to hear your wisdom. But before we jump into today's discussion, Professor, I would like for you to take a moment out to talk about your Freedom Soup. And what is that endeavor about, and how can we support your endeavor?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Freedom Soup was created actually just around the time of independence. As everyone else was, some of the military were working on their parades, and other people, generals, were working on their speeches, different people working on different things. But the woman who would later become the empress, the first empress of Haiti, Marie-Claire Heureuse Félicité Bonheur Dessalines, her focus was how to stay healthy. How does a population, after years of fighting, after years of abuse, after years of all sort of negative elements to our health, how do we become healthy again? And being a healer, she came up with this particular soup. made of, at the base is the pumpkin, the Asian pumpkin, which has 126 different nutrients, vitamins, protein, potassium, enzyme, etc., etc. And she set it up in a combination with other vegetables and tubercules and created this particular soup that she advised us to share. Says if you make the soup and it's you, your husband, and your children, you have it, that's not independent soup. Independent soup has to walk. That means you make enough so you send to the neighbor. You send to the old lady down the street that you know is living by herself. You send to some hospitals, to prisons, to wherever, but make it and share it because the spirit of that soup is in the sharing. So, this is the first principle that is given to us on January 1st to live by. We must share with each other. And that soup, we drink it all day, breakfast, lunch, dinner on January 1st, because we build up, that it's helping us to build up the stuff we need to face up the new year. So, this is what we call, what she called independence soup. And the past couple of years, we've been calling freedom soup in English because it's just a little easier. So, and to in order to do this, to share it among as many as possible, not just in IT. We do fundraising and we encourage everyone who wants. We'll give them the recipe, we'll give them whatever, if they will just be doing the soup and sharing that soup. We have people in Canada who makes it in quantity and go to different uh, elders' house and serve the elders on January 1st.
Beautiful.
Some of our people go to hospitals, prisons in any country. Right now, when we first started, we were just doing in IT, but past 8, 10 years, it's now being done in England, in Birmingham, in London, in Canada, in the US. In fact, last year, some officials paid different restaurants so they would serve it free to anyone who wanted it. So the soup has grown, it's all over the world.
Beautiful.
And we hope those who are listening will participate in helping us raise enough money so we can share it. In particular, this year, we'll be going to the south of Haiti where there was an earthquake in August. And people are still trying to come out from under. So we will be doing most of the sharing. We still do it throughout the country, but we'll be doing in particular there. So we're counting on your help to get it done.
Beautiful, Professor. So, family, the link is on the screen. Please visit www.freedomsoup.org. And a matter of fact, I poked around on the website prior to us going live, family. And so let me pull up the website so that you can see what I see. Okay, so this is her website, www.freedomsoup.org. Okay, and if you want to contribute, you come right here, you click the button contribute. Okay, and you have different donations. Okay, $10, all from $10 to $1,000 donation. You put in your contact information, your credit card information, and you contribute. And so, family, please, please, please contribute to this endeavor. I myself, you know me, I never ask you to contribute anything to any endeavor that I don't contribute. So I'm going to make a donation, Professor Bello, in the amount of $200. I pledge that tonight publicly. So you have my donation. And so, family, I just ask that you follow suit. No problem, Professor. Thank you. And so, please, family, follow suit. Let's make sure that we send these donations. Again, you can visit www.freedomsoup.org to make a donation. And she's taking this where it's needed. You said you're going to south of I-80 where the earthquake took place. And so people who contribute to this effort, to this endeavor, will be helping out with feeding people down there. And so, family, I know you all were looking for legitimate people and organizations to contribute to. Well, this is one of them. Okay. And so please make sure that you visit www.freedomsoup.org to make a contribution. All right. And so, Professor Bello, for those who are just joining in, I see that people are joining in. I have with me Professor Bello. She is an Haitian historian, a writer, author, humanitarian. She specializes in spirituality, Afro-descendant, Aishan, our story. She's an educator, and she also specializes in linguistics. And Professor, I didn't know that until I read your press kit that you also specialized in linguistics. I knew you were a historian, but I didn't know that you also had a specialty in linguistics. But it kind of makes sense, right? Like, I see the connection because we use language to convey our thoughts, our ideas, our history. And so it's a lot that's transmitted through language. So I can see you being a historian and also, also an expert in linguistics. So Professor, let me ask you this. And this is again the reason why I brought you on the show. There is again a growing sentiment amongst young people that our ancestors were weak. And I get it. I understand why this is happening because they're getting taught a watered down version, or really a distorted version, of our ancestors. And so when a lot of I remember I was on social media, and there was an individual who was selling T-shirts, and the T-shirt said, "I'm not my ancestors. I'll bleep bleep you," basically. I'm so kind of saying I'll fight you back, basically. And when I saw the shirt, I actually addressed the individual and I said, "Well, why are you selling shirts that say I'm not my ancestors?" I said, "We are definitely our ancestors. We are our ancestors." "Oh, well, because I feel like, when I see our ancestors, I see them during the civil rights marches where they were getting, sprayed with water hoses, and they were getting, beat, and they were getting kicked and spit on by white folks. And so typically a lot of our children are inundated when they think of fighting. They go back to Dr. King and the civil rights movement. They typically don't go beyond that, and they don't go beyond that because they're not taught anything beyond that. So whenever this country teaches our young babies about resistance in the US, they talk about the civil rights movement. So they go back to the 60s, and those are the images that they show our young people. So our young people feel like, well, that's weak. Why would you let somebody, beat you up? Why would you let somebody spray a water hose on you? Why would you allow this? And so what I try to explain to them is that at that particular time, our ancestors were following Dr. King, who had this nonviolent strategy, for his reasons. And I don't want to get into that lesson. But I asked you, Professor Bello, does resistance start with the civil rights movement, or can we go back further, Professor?
There has never been a time where we did not resist. Let's get it straight. When the Euro-Christian invaders landed in Africa, nowhere were they welcomed. When they came in with their troops, when they came in with their religious troops, then we took them more or less as people and dealt with them. But then when they start coming in with their military, we mustered our military. Everywhere we fought. And only after we lost would they be able to take some of us and bring us to their boats and start to take off, and do their whole trading, as they call it. But actually, we have to call things what they are. The crime of kidnapping people, stealing people from their lands, tying them up like animals, and selling them, that is human crimes. And we must develop the lawyers and judges who are able to structure laws to deal with these crimes against humanity. We must. That's the next step. Now, the same is true in Haiti, for example. They teach our children in 1492, Christopher Columbus arrived, and then all the Indians died. Wait a minute. So Columbus was some kind of a sunshine, and the people there were just like butter. And once Columbus arrived, the butter just melted away. That is total nonsense. Even though they were very peaceful people, like the Arawaks, even though they did not have armies standing there or looking for wars, but once they understood these people were not about peace and these people were very aggressive and destructive, then they mustered the armies, the necessary fighting troops, and began to fight back. And as a matter of fact, When Ovando was the governor for Spain, he wrote a letter saying, no matter how much we tried, we cannot beat them militarily. The only way to get them is through lies, tricks, and yes, ma'am. So, how did they get Kaunabo? Kaunabo was one of those Carib warriors. They told him, here is a gift that the king of Spain sent for you. When they fought and couldn't get him, then they met and told him, we have a gift from the king of Spain. So the gift was, okay, put your hands out. It's a beautiful golden bracelet. It was handcuffs.
Mm.
That's how they took him. How did they get Queen Anacaona? She fought for 10 years. They couldn't get her. And then they said, okay, let's make peace. Let's meet together so we can sign a peace treaty. She said, okay, fine. So they met for the peace treaty. And once they were together again, they arrived with maybe 20, 30 people in, apparently. But then they had thousands of their men in the surrounding. Once the men received the sign, put their hands on their cross, that was the sign to say, okay, now attack. And the instruction was, kill everything alive, everything, animal, trees, people. Destroy the entire town. Don't leave any trace of life in the city of Yaguana. And they took the queen and about 18, 20 people from her family, tied them behind a horse, and dragged them from Yaguana to Santo Domingo. Today, it's a 10-hour ride by car. Mm. Imagine what it could have been, what it must have been, being dragged behind the horse. Mm. She still made it alive. Queen Anacaona was still alive when she arrived in Santo Domingo. And there they decided to have a trial. She is accused of treason against Spain. Found guilty. You come to my country, you steal, you lie, you trick, you rape, you slaughter, and then you accuse me of treason and judge me in the name of Jesus. Because all of this is being done always in the name. These are the good Christians' behavior. In the name of Jesus. So they judge her guilty of treason against Spain in her own country after all the crimes they committed. And said that, okay, the next day they were going to hang her. During that night, a priest came to see her and asked her to convert to Christianity so her soul would go to paradise. Mm. He asked him, are there any Spaniards in your paradise? He said, of course. She said, that's all right then. I'd rather die than be among you anywhere else in the world. Mm. So he reported her answer, and she was then retried, and this time double murder. Okay, she would be hung and burnt, and that's what they did. I don't know if you can kill somebody twice, but anyway, in their obsessive criminality, that was how they deal with it. So they give us the illusion that Arawak Tainos never fought. That's not true. They give us the illusion that Africans never fought. That is absolutely untrue. We fought everywhere. And in some cases, what they tell you, they give you what they call history are chosen elements of the story.
Come on.
Okay? Because what happened is, I meet Dr. Maat, and we have an exchange, and we have a fight, and she wins. And we go our different ways. We come back 2 years later, we fight again. And she wins again. We go back our different ways. And the third time I win. And the fifth time she wins. Ultimately, she dies. Now I write the story. And all I'm going to tell you is, well, I arrive in Ma'at's thing. She didn't have no rem. And a couple of seconds later, she was dead. That's how I will tell you the story. Remember, we went to schools created by our enemies.
Come on.
We read books Every subject. No, don't put anything out. Don't tell me you're a scientist. It makes no difference. Their lies are in everything. And every time you think you've got truth from a perpetual, obsessive liar, you are wrong.
Woo! Woo! Professor, oh my goodness. I need to ask you this because you did mention something when, while you were talking. You mentioned, that things were done in the name of Jesus. Professor, were we Christians before we came in contact with European people? Were we Christians?
Okay. The term Christian, no. If we're talking about language, that's why linguistics is so important. Okay? Were we Christians? Absolutely not. Now, is it true that in the 3rd century, the Euro Christians start going to Africa and stealing documents? Yes. Is it true that in Ethiopia, we had a belief system of a monolithic God? Yes. Is it true that the documents that they stole from Ethiopia and then from Egypt, those are the basis of what they're going to turn after messing around with it? They're going to turn it into what is now understood as the Christian premise, the Christian basis. Yes, they took the things from us and transform it into, let me give a very simple example. In the Coptic system, which is the closest thing to what they call Christian, in the Coptic system, they have what is called confession, public confession. That means if I have harmed Dr.Maat while she was on the radio, then I am demanded from our premise, our law says that next time I must come back to the same platform and say publicly, me, Bayyinah Bello, wrong Dr. Maat by saying or doing this. And I ask Dr. Maat to please forgive me. And Dr. Maat will say, yes, I forgive you, but here is what is required as part of the forgiveness. She will tell me what she wants from me because I wronged her. Now, this public confession is turned into what the Christian talk, the auricular confession. Auricular means I will say to your ears. So then I go to the priest and say, yeah, I did this to Dr. Maat. And then the church will say to me, or the priest, the church have laws that says, all right, for this wrong to Dr. Maat, you will pay this to the church. You will pay what they call simony. Okay, so for every crime you committed against whoever, then the church enriches herself. That's the system that replaced what was public confession. And you can take every different practices and you will find they take this that we had and turned it into that has nothing to do with what we do. That has nothing to do with justice. That has nothing to do with reciprocity. Ma'at is absent in their formulas. So if we don't think, if we don't analyze, how can I have wronged Dr. Maat and I go pay $10,000 to the church? The church
Right.
was not involved.
Exactly.
Come on. If I had to pay anything, at least Maat should get the money.
Exactly. And so we had, like you said, we had our own spiritual systems. And I saw in your press release that it says Professor Bello is a voodoo.
Yes.
So
a child of voodoo.
a child of voodoo. And so
Yes.
a lot of us, when we hear voodoo, and I'm talking about like Black Americans, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that's that witchcraft. Oh, that's that, you're not supposed to be. So could you talk to us about voodoo for a brief moment, Professor?
Well, in the short, it's just understanding that you and I are just part of creation.
That's it.
We do not have any more rights than any other living form. If I need some basil leaves to make a tea, when I go to the basil plant, I must ask the plant permission to take the 7 leaves or 24 leaves or whatever number, whatever branches I need. I must ask for permission, receive permission, and then I could take it and I can make the tea. And I must tell the plant also, I'm asking you to give me part of your life so
Mm.
I can protect the life that has been entrusted to me. So that is a trade off that we do between me and the plant. And in cases when we are really well trained in listening to the other, to all the different life forms,
Mm.
then the plant might even say, okay, you can have the leaves you want, but I want you to water me tomorrow, not the gardener. I would like for you for the next 7 days to do this because all of life is about reciprocity. We
Yes.
all do. We take and we give. We
Yes.
take and we give in the same degree. That is the law of life. And that is the law, the fundamental law by which we live in Voodoo.
In Vadum, Ashe. And so thank you so much, Professor, for explaining that. Thank you so much for that. The chat said beautiful, Ashe. So like you said, life is based on it's reciprocity. You give and you take. You give and you take. And so thank you for explaining that. And I love how you said that we are all a part of creation because what I
Mhm.
typically see in the Abrahamic religions is that
Mhm.
they want to dominate creation, destroy creation, dominate and destroy creation. Man shall have dominion over, instead of
Mhm.
understanding that we are all a part of creation. And so thank you. Go ahead, Professor.
In fact, if we would think about it 1 minute, if there is a so called God that is all omnipotent, omnipresent,
Omnipresent.
omniscient, and we would assume omnijust, we assume. Now, if the same God says, all right, I give men dominion over all other life forms in my creation, he's already very unjust. If it says women has a less blah, 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 blah than men, he is another level of unjust.
Ashe.
If he says these people are my chosen people, the others, well, who cares? Oh, so all of these proven injustices, and we are part of a structure that overtly talk of their injustices, and you take that in as being divine. Okay, I have nothing to say to you.
Professor, I feel the same way. It's like I'm sitting here listening to you, like what you said. If you just take a moment to think, just if you take a moment to think and analyze the doctrine, you'll clearly see, like you said, that's what you believe. It's kind of like I'm at a point now where I just say, okay, myself, because it doesn't make sense. That's not just, to say that the Holy Trinity is God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. I said, well, what happened to the woman? Like, so the woman got left out of the Holy Trinity, so she got replaced with a ghost. So anyway, Professor, I could talk about that all all day, Professor. But going back to the topic at hand, the warrior spirit of African people, could you talk about the Maroon communities that we established everywhere we went? We had Maroon communities in the Caribbean. We had them in South America, North America. So could you talk about what is a Maroon community, And where were these communities and what was taking place in these communities, Professor?
I would like to say, first of all, marooning, before we talk about communities,
Yes, ma'am.
marooning is the art and science of not letting your enemy know all your hands.
Mm.
That's number one. If I don't want you, if you and I are fighting, I wish to win to whatever degree. I cannot come and tell you, all right, Dr. Maat, you saw what I'm going to on Thursday, I'm going to, on Friday, on Saturday, I'm going to go marching. On Sunday, I'm going to get my gun. On Monday, I come and kill you.
Mm.
Only a fool would do that. Anytime there are two camps at war, there has to be the spirit of marooning. Not everything you do is what it looks like. So, if we understand that, the spirit of marooning, then there is the mentality of marooning that you must have if you are to survive in a hostile world, which is the world in which we're living today. We're living and have been in at least 2,000 years, 2,000 to 3,000 years, we've been in hostile worlds.
Mm.
So the key to winning is how well you handle the art and science of marooning. Toussaint Louverture had a practice. If he had 500 men in his troops, and then the French or Spanish or British across from him came with 2,000 men, Toussaint would have his men march a first time with something white, let's say a uniform that seemed to be white. They would march in one direction. When they marched again, they'd come back in the other direction and there would be blue or red or green or whatever. So then when the French are counting, they say, okay, he has 500 in white, he has 500 in blue, he has 500 in red. So he's got 1,500 guys. Actually, he only has 500.
Mm.
But in marooning, he would play the display of his men in such a way as to give the enemy false counting. Okay? So, if you don't have the spirit of marooning, you have very little chance of winning any war at all. Because you think you have to come like today. Some of us come out and say everything that's going on in their lives. They put it on social media. I'm eating now. I'm drinking now. I'm wearing my watch. I'm putting this on. Okay. Well, all the thieves looking at you say, oh, aha. So you'll be wearing your $2 million ring today. Wonderful. And you're going to the Blue restaurant. Great. I'll be meeting you there. That is not an intelligent way of living. We must always be doing some degree of marooning in everything that we do. And even though the way the narrative about Haitian Revolution is written, there's very little mention of the Maroons. Well, one of the reasons is that they don't know much about them because they were so brilliant. And in some cases, the Maroon became the revolutionary. But then somebody else replaced him in the Maroon camp. So his role is still being played by somebody else while he's playing the revolutionary. Dessalines was a Maroon at some point, and then he became a revolutionary. Once your face is out and everybody knows you, you can no longer be part of the Maroon society.
Wow.
Because the Maroon function only as shadows. Now, understand well, this, if we study, for example, in the United States, even in what seems to be apparent, the marooning went on. Example, there is a wonderful book Uh, oh, I have it right there and I forget. I will get, before we finish this show, I will go get the book so you can see this book. Such and such pedagogy, fugitive pedagogy. Fugitive pedagogy. It's a fabulous book that studied Carter Godwin Woodson step by step and in a certain way exposed the marooning part of what went down in the field of education in order for us to get to where we are. It's a vital book that I think all of us should read. So, marooning is not just when you are warring, it has to be part of your everyday life. If you are a conscious person, you know you are living in a hostile environment, then you must have a degree of marooning in your lifestyle. That's the minimum. Must have. So, the spirit of marooning, once we go to war now, you have to know, even if nobody ever says anything about it, you have to know there was a group of maroon. There was those who would go at night and come and say, Dr. Maat, you have to be part of the fight. On Wednesday, we have something special going on. Please don't say nothing. But, here. There has to be this group that function only at night and do everything undercover. What's the force of the United States? The CIA, the FBI, what's that? That's a marooning system. You never know nothing about them, really. Any country that is domineering today, they all have their marooning system. But they set things up in our countries where we have to do everything in front of TV, or it's not transparent.
Speak, Professor.
So, in everything that we do, the spirit of marooning has to be present. Because in the past, all of our victories were gained primarily by the actions of the maroons among us. Even Sister mentioned Dr. King. Yes, Dr. King, there was some marooning in Dr. King's work. There was the part that we all know. Yes, he's going to go there and let them beat him up but there are other parts you don't know. And at the same time, while Dr. King was doing what he was doing, Malcolm was present and saying, by any means necessary. Why do you choose to only read up about King and not read about Malcolm? The Black Panthers put their lives out there. They were slaughtered by thousands. Because in my book, part of the problem with the Black Panthers is that they failed to develop their marooning side. They put everything they had in public eye. No one succeeds that way. Again, let's take nature as our example. Do you know Bayyinah Bello, Dr. Maat?
Do I know?
Bayyinah Bello.
Well, I know of your work, and yes, ma'am. I know of your work, not personally, but yes, I'm familiar with your work. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Very smart answer. But even physically, okay? Even someone who's my children, my grandchildren, they know some part of Gomer. They know the face, they know the hands, they know the arms. But who has seen my heart? Who knows my feelings? Who knows my sentiments? Who knows my fears? So nature shows us that any life form that we look at is probably more than 90% hidden. So if you create anything, do not put it 100% out there. For it to survive, it must have its shadow side. It must have its marooning side.
Mm. And so, Professor, we set up these. So I'm glad that you broke down marooning, like it, because it was some things that a lot of things that you mentioned that I had no idea of. So, Professor, when we started marooning, we started establishing maroon communities. Could you talk about that and what went on in those communities, Professor?
All right. Maroon communities generally would be number one is identify as a maroon, someone who decides, okay, you know what? This whole slavery plantation garbage stuff, I can beat it and I'm going to get out of it. So the person who runs away is called the maroon. But that's not when he marooned, really. He's been marooning 2, 3, 5 years in the plantation. The person who gives you the best yes, boss, who bows, and he could be doing all that stuff that you think that's my good slave. But in his head, the spirit of maroon is at work. And he is planning, organizing, plotting to get away from it all.
Mm.
But he portrays himself as the most obedient slave of all. So, as they start to step out of the plantation, they create villages. They create different ways of living. They create their own world. In different parts of the world, we created maroon villages. In Haiti, for example, the law was in maroon villages, any threat whatsoever, burn everything down, erase any trace of our being there.
Mm.
In maroon villages, competence is king. We don't care if you're a man, woman, blah, blah, blah. Are you great at fighting? Then you will be the leader. I don't care if you're female or male. You do, everybody has something, responsibility. The child, 4-year-old, who can climb up the tree, 5-year-old can climb up the tree. That's the person who will be on the tallest tree watching out for anything threatening us. The children will learn how to use pepper. We grow pepper, fine. We have snakes around, fine. The children know how to use all of whatever we have in the environment. So if someone comes to threaten us with their guns, the children know how to fool around, get pepper all over their hands and get into your eyes, get the snake into your shirt, do whatever. Every member of the maroon family has duties. There's no such thing as, oh, this is my little baby, 9-year-old, can do nothing. At 4, 5, you already know how to use a pocket knife. You already know what are the key spots on the body to aim for if we are attacked. Maroons villages are usually fully competent in how to survive and how to eliminate wherever we are and start again someplace else. So we are totally unattached. We have no such thing. Oh, I really love this pen. I can't go with it. No. The pen is fine if it's useful. Right now, it's not about writing unless I could use it to stick into somebody's eyes. Because every tool, one of the key learning in a maroon society, every tool is a weapon. As you sit in your station, you should know if you are attacked, how you will defend yourself with that microphone, with that headset. Because every tool is a weapon. So maroon mentality must be taught from day one, from birth. And maroon mentality has to work with discipline, courage, determination, vision,
Teach.
fearlessness. We cannot claim to have a maroon society, and then we always, what happened if they come for us? What happened if? Then that is not a maroon society. These are just a group of fearful people hiding. That's not a maroon society. A maroon society always have a plan. Always have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F. Maroon societies, there is no too old, there is no too young. Everyone has responsibilities. That's what Maroons are all about. And that's why every society that has produced decent revolution, they had a strong Maroon base. Nat Turner come from a Maroon society. That means they already, even on the plantation, I don't have to be somewhere else. We could be right here on the plantation. And the 7 or 10 or 12 of us, we have the Maroon spirit. We speak in silence with our eyes. We speak in dancing. When they think we just, this is the dance is saying something to somebody. So within the plantation, there is already the Maroon group that is created. And they're the ones who are going to make the plans for stepping out of the plantation. But even if they don't, they still make plans to what happens here. They are not 100% submitted to the plantation system. Many of our people maroon right there within the plantation. And apparently, hey, Chicken George in Roots. Here's a good example. Yeah, he's always singing and dancing and fiddling and the most unimportant person. But look how, with the Maroon spirit, little by little, he built something. He managed to buy himself out. He managed to do this. He managed. Maroon mean you always have a plan, an alternative to what you don't want. That's the key thing to remember about marooning. And all of us need to develop the Maroon spirit, the Maroon mentality, if we are to survive in this very, very, very destructive, obsessively criminal society.
Mm. Professor, do you feel like? Oh, I hear an echo, so I'll mute while I ask my question. Professor, do you feel like that it's difficult or challenging for us to foster a Maroon spirit and inform Maroon communities, because we're dealing with a group of people, us, we, we're a lot of us have forgotten who our enemy is. They think that they are our friends. We want to marry them. We want to be accepted by them. We need their validation. We look for them to entertain us. We depend on them to hire us. We look to them for what's right, what's wrong. I mean, so it's. I mean, Professor, what can we do, or what must be done in order to engender this Maroon spirit that you speak of, Professor?
Well, the Maroon spirit is always there. See, life again. If you put on the machine to monitor your heart, and we will see, as long as you well, it will go down and up and down and up, and we know things are doing okay. Once it give a straight line, we know things are not good anymore, right? Well, the same is true. Maroon society, Maroon spirit is still around. Depending on circumstances, it will grow or diminish. So even though right now, apparently, we don't see much, and it's thankful, we must be thankful when we cannot identify much of the maroon. But we must know that it is present. The Maroon spirit never dies.
Mm.
So, as the obsessive criminals become more and more obsessive and more dangerous, the Maroon spirit will rise in more and more of us. Whether we want to or not, it will. So, we don't need to worry about the person next to us that we think has no maroon spirit. We think we can bet on it. We don't know. Remember the person who gives the best yasabas, who lean lower,
That's true.
may be your most determined and powerful maroon. So don't judge each other. Let's just, each one of us who want to be serious, who want to be openly serious, let us work on developing, on strengthening, on making our maroon spirit stronger and stronger. So that when the person we think was not into anything rise next to us, we will not be falling short.
Yes. So, Professor, do you agree that? And I thank you for this. Do you think that some of us or a lot of us have forgotten who our enemy is, Professor?
Yes, apparently,
Mhm.
but we can bet on it. There is too much going on. There are too many things happening. Of course, once in a while you have a George Floyd situation or whatever else that sort of make us say, "Oh wow, look, I didn't think they could ever do," you know. But somewhere, even those of us who say, "I didn't think that could ever," we still say, "Yeah, I should have known better." So the most important, work hard on developing and strengthening your maroon spirit.
Your moral spirit.
Don't bet about the person next to you. You don't know. Trust that when the moment is key, those who will be around you will either have your strength to depend on or you will find their strength to lean on. So that's why it's important for us not to go about judging each other. It's important for us to always give a little doubt, no matter how the person seems to, wow, how can she do this? How can he does that? And then hold back. Don't say it all. Hold back and bless this person and
Mm.
bless them that the maroon spirit in them will strengthen, deepen, and heighten.
I'm telling you, Professor, I agree with the chat. I really needed. I just listening to you. I'm over here just mesmerized. Literally, I'm just over here. Like I needed to hear from you. I needed to hear you. People in here are in the chat. I mean, they're like, we love you. They said we love you. Truth. Dr. Bello, Ashe, I needed to hear this because I'm losing hope in some of our people, and I needed to hear it too, Professor, because sometimes it just like you said, you're looking at folks and how they're moving, and we're judging and we are assuming that this person may not be aware and they're not moving, in with the maroon spirit. But like you say, Professor, I guess instead of judging, like you said, we need to tighten up our maroon spirit. And when the trumpet sounds, just have faith that our brothers and sisters won't ignore the call, won't ignore the call. So thank you so much. There in the chat, just I mean, people said, I'm so glad I've discovered her. Sister Azili Dontal, these two ladies are fire. I love them both. My family thinks I'm crazy for not believing this. So now they're talking in the chat. But they said this was all positive affirmations, Dr. Bello. And so we thank you, family, family, family. Be sure, because I know a lot of you are saying, hey, we love you, we support you, Professor. But we need to support Professor Bello with not just only our words, but also our resources. Okay, and so I'm going to drop the um, her website in the chat again, freedomsoup.org. Please visit www.freedomsoup.org. Thank you to Prochelle Elliott. She said that she already made a contribution. Brother Africa the Great, I know, brother, you asked for her Cash App, and I'm not sure if she has one or not. I can, but I'll make sure. I know that you donate via Cash App, but I'll make sure that I get her information to you. So, family, please, 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 again, let's not support her only, we support with our words, that's fine, but we need to support her with our resources. So please visit freedomsoup.org. Okay. And again, this is the website. I'll pull it up one more time for some folks who are just joining us. We have 70,000 people. 70,000 people in the building tonight, family. Please share the show. Professor Bello dropped a lot of powerful information, but here's the website. Here's her Freedom Soup website. And as she explained at the beginning of the discussion, she's going down into I-80, south of I-80, where the earthquake took place, in order to feed people. And so I know that when the earthquake took place, a lot of us were trying to figure out, well, who do we send money to? What reputable person or reputable organization should we donate to? Well, here's one. All right. And so please take a moment out to make a contribution. Also, so Professor Bello, do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
Actually, we have Fondation Félicité, which we created in Haiti 22 years ago. She turned, the foundation turned 22 last Monday. And so everything we do is through Fondation Félicité. And essentially, the foundation works at helping our people develop curriculum to build and strengthen our identity.
Yes.
Our key problem is that we have forgotten who we are. We have taken in so much of our enemies' personalities, and we need to do some cleanup. And there are techniques and means and ways of doing so and coming back to becoming our true divine self again. So I have also put in the chat the Fondation's Cash App. So we have, so basically, if we work at becoming ourselves, then you know what? We don't even need to go to war with enemies. You just stand in yourself, your divine self, and they run away. But you have to work at it. You have to build yourself. You have to cleanse yourself from all the references. If we say philosophy, you start calling somebody else. You say economics, you naming other people. You say spirituality, you naming some other folks that don't look like you. We've got to fill all of that up with us. I do not care if you go into Kemet or you go into West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, but be you. Do the detox, yes. Detox yourself of all that knowledge of others. And as you cleanse yourself from that, from anger, from a whole lot of emotion, reactions, all of that, waste your energy. Have self-control with discipline. Discipline will build courage. Courage will help you have vision. And then you can plan and you can have foresight on what your enemy might be planning against you. But right now, you're always behind because you don't know yourself. That's really the problem. The key problem is not knowing self. It's not that we have this, that, or the other problem. We have one problem: lack of knowledge of self. Correct that, and the world will tremble wherever you stand.
Fire! 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 Fire!
I had to give it up for you, Professor. That was the fire sound effect. People in the chat, they said, "Where are your sound effects, Dr. Maat, tonight?" And I was just so into what you were saying. I wasn't thinking about sound effects, but I had to drop a bomb for you. I mean, oh my goodness, family, look at the Cash App is on the screen. Some of you in the chat, I know Sister LaDoja Wright, I know you asked for the Cash App. Brother Africa the Great, you asked for the Cash App. The Cash App is on the screen. family, please make sure that we support not only with our words but our resources. Brother Ramsey 7, yes, Professor was in 1804. Absolutely, she was in 1804. So people are giving you your roses, Professor. They're giving you roses, and thank you so much. And you're right. You said we had one problem, and that is that we lack knowledge of self. We forgot who we are, and we need to reclaim that. And so thank you so much, Professor, for coming on the show tonight. I hope that you will come on again. I hope that you will come back again, because we thoroughly enjoyed, just your wisdom. And so again, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Family, make sure that you share the show. And I know there's some people watching on Facebook. Head on over to YouTube, family. Head on over to YouTube. Type in Dr. Maat. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so that whenever I go live, you will receive a notification once you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. So again, Professor, thank you so much for coming on. Family, I will be back here next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a producer coming on. He just dropped a movie. I think it's called Freedom of North Carolina. And so he'll be on to talk about the importance of us telling our stories, taking control of that, and us telling our stories, and why we need to continue to create media, books, music, videos, children's animations, curriculum that teach us or teach our babies our story. So join me back here, same time, same place, next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace and Black Power.
Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classics. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maat.